sis.
Hey, sis.
Hey, Sister Circle.
I'm your big sis, April.
And I'm your little sis, Tiffany. And we are Sister Talk Network Podcast.
Sisters bridging the generational gap while encouraging candid conversations
And healing amongst women, friends, and sisters. You have a sister now. Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
Hey, Sister Circle.
Hey, Sister Circle. We are back. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. So let's start with one of our cards.
So you gonna introduce yourself?
Oh, that's important.
Who you?
Well, I guess they should know. Yeah. I guess you should know who we are, but we may have some new people today. So yes. I am your big sis, April.
And I'm your little sis, Tiffany. And we are Sister Talk Network, our podcast.
Thanks for joining us. I was just
letting
go all the formalities. Let's just go. Because this ain't going to be an easy one for me, but I'm going to get through it. Ooh. So with that being said, we're going to start with something uplifting as we've been doing, and we're going to keep it going. Let's find one of our cards. Shuffle, go to the middle and see what we have. And it says, I had to look at it like, what does this say? I am creating the life of my dreams.
Oh, that is a good
That's
one.
a good one. Because just this morning, one of the other groups that I'm in, somebody posted something about something that I've been dealing with, and I was able to help her a little bit. Mm-hmm. And she said, basically, how do you break free from the imposter syndrome phase? And I was like, woo, child. Like, that was me. Mm-hmm. So I was able to give her some advice on how to break free. And like, once you break free, the life on the other side is like so amazing. Yeah. And just submitting it to God and allowing Him to create the life that He wants for us is the beautiful thing. So yeah, that's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Good way to get started. So you reached out, and the way we do this, sisters, is like sometimes God will lay something on my heart. Sometimes God will lay something on little sis's heart about topics. And when she sent me this topic, I had in my mind what I would say, like just on a surface level. But of course, God being God gave me a different spin on it. But tell them about your topic and what it's about.
It's enough. And I started thinking about like the two things. I am enough and I've had enough. Because that's the first two things I thought about when I was thinking about enough. Okay. And in order for me to know that I was enough, I had to have enough first. Like I have completely had it. I had to get fed up with the version of myself that I was complacent with and the version of myself that I was portraying before I was able to figure out who I was and then decide to sit in there and be like, okay, this is enough. I am enough.
Yes, you're enough. Period. And you're right. Like, we can't get to that place of healing, of growth, of change until we'll allow ourselves to sit in that and peel back those layers. And that's the hard part. Yeah. It's the hard part because it's so painful to just sit there, sit in it, be true with yourself. Yeah. What I was saying to the young lady earlier is that I asked her if she was journaling her thoughts. And I was like, journaling your true thoughts, because it's so easy to just put down those cliche things. Right. Right.
Get a lock.
Because I don't want nobody to see this. But it's so easy to just write down those cliche things, just the everyday stuff. But when you really get to the core of where you really are and honest about where you are, chill.
The skeletons that start coming out and you trying to push them back in the closet. But like, I deal with this
too much.
Picking the skeletons. Like, I feel like once you open a closet, like if you ever had a junkie closet in your house, you go in there for one thing because you want to just deal with one item, and then all the stuff hits you at one time. You like,
it starts falling out. And that's what I told her. Like you almost have to, or I'll just say for me, I can't speak for anybody else. I had to handle one thing at a time because if you try to deal with everything all at once, it's so overwhelming that you can't do it. Like you said, it's just like a dirty house or a messy house. If I think about everything that I have to do, nothing gets done. But if I just focus on one room or one task at a time, then it's going to get done. Like you don't want it's just so overwhelming.
When I clean, it looks like complete chaos because I don't clean that way.
Oh, you do everything all at once? Okay.
I don't focus on one room at a time, and it drives my husband completely crazy because he cleans like how you clean.
Yeah,
he's like, okay, like he even from like the room. He works from the left side of the room and then works himself over to the right side, and then he works towards the door. Where I'm just like, I guess it's because I don't know what it is, but I appreciate my multitasking skills because I'll go from like when I decide, okay, this time I'm gonna clean just the upstairs, and I ran through all 4 rooms and was cleaning all 4 rooms at one time.
At the same time?
But I was able to do it in a way it's like, okay, I'm taking out the trash. I'm taking out the trash in all 4 rooms.
Okay.
I'm cleaning the toilet. I'm gonna clean the toilet in all 4 rooms or all 3 bathrooms before I do something. And that's how I wind up cleaning. Like I categorize what I'm cleaning and then clean the same thing in every room. Okay. So where other people will be looking at me like, why is you running from room to room? Yeah. And it's like, okay, but I'm categorizing.
And it works for you.
Yeah, it works for me.
And that's the thing that we have to remember, that we're all so different, but it's okay. Because that works for you. Now, if you try to go left to right like I do,
I wouldn't get nothing done. I wouldn't get nothing done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. That's a tough one. But like we all have to do whatever works for us. That's the bottom line. No matter what it looks like, as long as we end up at the end result. And that's what I tell people in a corporate setting as well. That as long as we get to the same end result and the job gets done, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That's funny because in our healing journeys, it makes a whole lot of sense. You heal the way you clean. Yeah. Because you're like, okay, this is the problem. I'm gonna fix this one thing. Where I want to dig up everything to figure out if this one issue has caused a problem somewhere else. Okay. So if I had, for instance, like I had a problem with my short temper. So I wanted to know, I didn't want to just deal with it in one situation. I wanted to figure out what else is this leaking onto.
That's good.
So it made like that. I never even thought about it like that. Like, I clean the way I heal.
But that's good because you are now addressing multiple things at once. Where for somebody like me, I think I'm good and no, I'm not. Because now, like maybe 6 months later, I'm saying, oh, this was spilling over into another area. And then I have to go clean up this area as well.
Well, I only learned that from marriage counseling. About the whole, like just fixing our issues. Yeah. Because there was certain stuff, and a lot of times you have arguments in marriages and then you don't even remember what you was arguing about. But I remember Warren like blatantly pointing that out. Like you say you fixed it, but then I'm dealing with it again, just in a different situation.
Yeah, keep spilling over. But even for you to get to that point, like you said, you had to get to the point of, I've had enough. I've had enough. I am enough. And what do I need to do to fix it, to clean this mess up? Yeah. That's good, sis. That's good. But like I said, God being God, he and I'm going to choose my words very carefully because I don't want to be in trouble with God, but I want to say what he's given me to say. And what I've been seeing a lot is, just in my travels, in people and things and communities and churches, places that I've had to be that I wouldn't normally be. Because, y'all know I love my pastor, Pastor Sharon Dean. Don't have nothing bad to say about her. But I'm seeing that, I'm seeing people who profess God, who hide behind God, and you're just nasty. And when I tell you, it is breaking my heart in a way, and it's given me a burden in a way that I didn't even know how to handle it, so I had to take it to God. And it just, at this time that is coming up, and in my mind, God is saying, I've had enough. I've had enough of this. Like, we can't lead people to Christ and be nasty. We can't lead people to Christ and be arrogant. We can't lead people to Christ and be haughty and think that we're better than others. We can't lead people to Christ when we are acting and where it's more important for us to be seen than to be concerned about souls, which is the most important thing. And I just want to read something really quick that I found. And it says, love is not one of the attributes of God, but the summary of all the attributes of God. And God is saying, enough. Enough. We have to walk in love above all things. We don't know who is waiting for our light. We don't know who our actions, who's watching our actions, and who our actions will draw to God or push away from God. And I know we've touched on this in the past before, but I have a burden in such a way that it has to be said again. And just recently, I was in an atmosphere supporting someone who was going through a really tough time. And as I'm looking around, I'm seeing these people who are not concerned about all of these souls that are around me. They're more concerned about being seen and fire and brimstone instead of conveying that message of love.
And I know, like, in this era of God using every way to reach everybody, and how when COVID happened, it couldn't be business as usual. And that was the perfect opportunity for God to say, now I'm going to get rid of some of the old things that wasn't working and create some new things. There's more online churches, they had to pivot for people who couldn't get, none of us could get to church.
Yeah.
And I think he used that as a cleaning tool to get rid of a lot of that. Because I call it old school. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, that the old school way of teaching, just like the old school way of parenting, is there's new ways to do it.
Yeah.
Like, before, it was, oh, I'm gonna put the fear of God in you and that's gonna make you live right. But they missed the love of God.
Yes. Ooh,
they completely,
that's good. Say it again, child.
They completely missed that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, they talk about how God is our Father. I got more out of my kids being a loving mother than yelling at them.
Yeah.
And actually sitting down and understanding and getting to their root. The old school church ways of doing things was not to get to the root. It was stop the behavior.
Right.
And not really understanding, why is this behavior even happening?
Right.
And I think that's why there was such a stray away from that, because people from the outside world, we categorize.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're like this, I don't want to deal with none of y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And yeah, we do. And I'll speak for myself again, but we stereotype church buildings, I should say, because of that type of behavior. But what God is continually showing me is that a Christian's life should be a walking sermon. And it's easy to stand behind a pulpit and preach a sermon, but what does your life look like? When you in the Wawa, which is our local store, are you smiling at that person as they're walking by? Or are you just so focused on you and what you need to do? Or are you being nasty to that cashier behind the counter, but then you go stand behind the pulpit? I don't want to hear what you got to say. And y'all don't cancel me, y'all, but I'm just being real.
I'm Tim Ross talk about, like, he was like, God, you want me to really be up here and say what I'm going to say? He said, I'm going to get canceled. God said, well, let them cancel you. Yeah. Because I told you to do it.
Yeah.
And now, even, I'm a firm believer, if you're in a church building and it triggers your anxiety, get out.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, I was in shock when I found my church, because I was like, I don't have no anxiety. I don't have no fears. Wow. I can let my kids run around and I'm not worried about somebody doing something to my kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's, but why should, is there, in some instances, depending on how you grew up, more fear in the church than there is in the world?
Oh, that's good.
Like, this is the place where I'm supposed to seek refuge.
Yeah.
Why am I afraid here?
There's supposed to be safety.
Yeah.
And not judgment. And don't get me wrong, like, I really fully believe that once we show that love of God, that true love of God, it makes you want to live differently. Once you have that true love of God, you want to please him in a way where you're not doing all the things that you may have been doing before. But if you do go out and do something that night, guess what? Tomorrow, he still loves you. You know?
I remember Bishop Evans saying, he was like, I need you to follow after God and be in this church the same way you was doing your favorite sin.
Yeah, he does say that. Give him 6 months. Wasn't it 6 months? Right.
Give God 6 months like you gave your favorite sin. More than 6 months.
Right. To dedicate that time and watch what he'll do.
Yeah.
He'll do. But yeah, the burden is strong. Like, it is strong. And it was so bad just recently with this one incident that I had, that I came home and my head was pounding. I told you about it. My head was pounding. The heaviness was something that I've never felt before. And my initial reaction would have been, like previously, even a year ago, to begin to have discussions. Can you believe this? But God wouldn't allow me to do that. So I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do with this? Because like, clearly you've had enough. So what am I supposed to do with this? And just went into prayer, naming those people one by one. You know, that God will do what he needs to do, or do whatever he needs to do in that atmosphere and in any other atmosphere to ensure that these souls are not lost. Like, one thing I love about my pastor is she says that for anybody in general, like, you know, she talks about us being the salt of the earth and us, you know, going out and spreading the gospel, but to teach and preach and talk about Jesus. That's our only responsibility. Yeah. Like, it's not up to us to judge or to worry about what people are doing and so forth. That if God can't save them, we sure can't. Yeah. So why are we trying so hard to control and manipulate what people are doing?
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. But for me, like, just to get back to what you were talking about, the same. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It wasn't until I got to the point where I have had enough of being the way I was, and living in sadness, living in fear, living in all of those things, that I was ready to abandon those feelings and things and then just be open to what God has, and knowing that I am enough in who he created me to be, and allowing myself to be that person. Yeah. So my burden is heavy, sisters. It's a heavy one. And I don't know where God wants to take it, but for any of you, and I think I've said this before on a previous episode, who felt like you've been ostracized, mistreated in any way by someone who professes Christ, God loves you. He loves you more than you can ever possibly imagine. In any sin that you're in, it doesn't matter. He still loves you. He wants you. You are valuable. You are worthy because he says you are worthy. Open yourself up and allow him in. And we are praying, I am praying, that God will bring you to those people that are assigned to you to heal you and give you the peace that you need and you're looking for.
It really passes all understanding.
Yeah.
There's some days I be looking like, I don't even know how the heck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like how did we even get there? Yeah. You know, if it wasn't for God and him, not just him saying enough of the bad things that are going on and wanting to change those things, but enough for our suffering. Like he absolutely has. Like he got to the point where it's like, enough. You've suffered enough. And there's a scripture that says that, like, after you have suffered for a while, what God will come in and do, and he'll change things and give you peace. And he has absolutely done that for us. Yeah. And I am grateful.
Like I feel like I was walking around like not even understanding how we talk about peace and happiness even looks like.
Yeah.
Because if you never have it and everything is a facade, then you never really know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Like we over this weekend, it was so funny because we had a birthday party and no anxiety. Wow. Not worried about my kids. Now I did put a tracker on each one of my kids. I did. Some things you just can't get away from. But just feeling comfortable enough to go in the house and make the kids a plate while they were outside bouncing around in a bouncy castle and then come back. And it's like complete peace.
Wow.
Because I know that those people God has placed in my life. So I know that automatically this is an atmosphere that everybody is safe. Yeah. And then having room to actually enjoy it. I was in a bouncy castle with the kids.
Which you would have never.
No, I would have never done. Like I would have been like, somebody gonna snatch my wig off. I'm gonna be walking around here. Like all these different scenarios would have been playing in my head. Yeah. But like now just being at the point of, and so what if it does?
Yeah, who cares?
I'm gonna put it back on, and this is gonna be a memory that my kids have that they enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like being a type of adding to the type of parents that we had. I wouldn't say changing anything, because ultimately they, good and bad, helped us realize some things that needed to be changed and not. Yes. So I would just say adding to, because there was times I just wanted to be played with. So just being able to be free and allowing myself to be happy no matter what that looks like. Right. And it's like I've had enough of just sitting there in the shadows and worried about what people are going to think.
Had enough of not being my true authentic self. Had enough of worrying about the what ifs.
Yeah.
What if my wig comes off?
Yeah.
What if this and that happens? Like, I'm just gonna give an example. It's funny, but not funny. I grew up in the city, and I never really learned how to ride a bike. Like, I would ride up and down the driveway. Like, anybody that lived in a city knows, like, you have these row homes and you have like a back driveway, like alley. So I kind of learned how to ride, but never really learned how to ride. My husband is a country boy through and through. Yeah, you know, he used to make you ride bikes.
He ride the bike, and we be 3 miles in there. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
And he like, come on, you could do it. But
at 5 years old,
yeah, he don't care. He hard, girl, military. But we went camping recently, and he says, "Oh, I bought you a bike," and I'm like,
"You bought who a bike?" That's hilarious. Who did you buy a bike for?
I'm like, you know what? In my mind, I've had enough of this fear about this bike riding. No matter what this looks like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I laughed and I loved the way that he handled me, because when I tell you he bought me the type of bike that says, my baby don't really know how to ride no bike, so I'm gonna get her something that's gonna be comfortable for her. Big old seat, big old handlebars.
I know that's right.
And I rode that bike. Yeah. You know, like at first I got on and I'm like,
well, at least he knew what he was doing. Warren handed me this. Thank you, husband. But this 10 speeder, change the speeds on it. I'm like, I don't want to change. Put me on speed 1.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
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 I was the kid that had one training wheel on it because I kept leaning to one side. So, I get it. It's just like, listen.
But that's all right. Like, sisters, we are saying enough to all those things that are holding you back, whether it be fear, whether it be anxiety, whether it be the opinions of others. We are facing those things head on, knowing that we are overcomers. Yes. So believe that. Believe it, believe it, believe it.
And it's okay to get in. Like, I know we always talk about it because I know we talking about the happy moments, but let's be honest, like, everything is not always happy. Right. You have those moments where you just like, life is lifing. And this is getting me. If I see if my car sputter one more time, if you sitting up here, you gotta stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to fold all that laundry. The kids is screaming and loud, and you might have one, and it sounds like there's a bunch of them, and it's like just be on the brink of feeling like you gonna lose your mind. Yeah, I was gonna say something else. Growth. But just being at a place of don't nobody talk to me, don't nobody say nothing to me. But I remember where there was a time where I would never even voice that. I would be like, how dare you voice that?
Wow.
Like, not even giving myself the audacity. Like, never feeling like I'm enough to even say that.
That you're having a hard time or you're tired.
Because everybody, and there's been some people that I've had to check, and there's some people that's no longer friends. Because people look at what's labeled as a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, because you don't clock in. Like, I don't clock in, but I don't get the opportunity to clock out. Right. Like, so where everybody else, the whole world is sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, I might be up.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, of like, okay, well, yeah, you could just lay down and you can go to sleep because you drop your kids off. Well, now I still got one more at home. Yeah. And even on those days, my body isn't wired to just crash at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes I make myself. But just being at a place where, first of all, no, I'm not just a stay-at-home mom. No. And second of all, and so what if I was? Every job is hard. And anybody who says otherwise, switch.
You know.
Like, go ahead and switch, because I wouldn't want to do my husband's job, and he daggone sure wouldn't want to do mine either. It is hard, but I thought that my complaint took away the praise of what I'm blessed with. I thought one canceled out the other. And God had to check me on that, because he was like, I know your heart. Yeah. I know you're grateful for this. I know you're grateful for these 3 babies. I know you prayed for them. It's okay to say they have worn you out. Right. It's okay to get in the car and just ride in silence. Because sometimes I don't want to hear nothing.
Yeah, be quiet. Everybody.
Like, they go to sleep. Sometimes I just sit in the car.
Yeah.
What you doing? Sitting in the car.
Yeah, she's told me that too. Like, I'm just sitting in the car.
I'm sitting in the car. Yeah. Like, phone is in the house. Like,
yeah, I totally get that. And you're not, well, I would never say just a stay-at-home mom, because stay-at-home mom is a 24/7 job. But, I mean, you do other things, like for your businesses as well. And I've been honest with you. At my 52-year-old self, my age, I could never do what you do. Like, when I'm glad to go to work after, being around kids for so long. And you said something to me, like, even when we were going through some of the things with our mom. Yeah. Like what you just said, basically, that when, like, say if I go to visit or I'm at the hospital or whatever, I go home, even if it's at 10 o'clock at night, to a quiet house, but you can't go home and just clock out, because you then now have kids that still need your attention. They may be up in the middle of the night and all of those things. So yeah, I take my hat off. Kudos to mothers, specifically stay-at-home mothers, because it's a lot to have kids just around 24/7, no matter how much you love them. Yeah.
Anybody 24/7. Like, sometimes if I could clock out for myself,
right?
Like, listen.
Yeah, like, I have had enough.
Yeah,
it's a lot. So I want to, like, as we start to wind down, in saying that we've had enough. God's had enough. We are enough. I want to remind you, me, our sisters, that love is the only mirror that we should be using to judge ourselves or others. So that could be whether we've said we've had enough for ourselves and we want better for ourselves, or it can be as Christians, making sure we're walking in love and how we handle others. Love is truly the only answer and the only way. Yeah. And I think we have to remember that, whether we loving ourselves or loving on somebody else.
And if you just focus on loving yourself, then loving everybody else gets a little bit easier. Because if you don't love yourself first, then you walking around pissed off at everything and everybody, and you don't like nobody because you haven't dealt with your own issues of loving on yourself first.
Yeah, that is so true. And that is so good. And I didn't even think about that because, I can remember times when I was still in the imposter syndrome and walking around in an unhealed state. And not even so much that I wasn't really loving on people, but I couldn't even see. Like, it's kind of like blinders on. Yeah. Where now when I'm out and about, I notice things. I notice people. I'm smiling. How are you? How's your day? Where before I wasn't intentionally ignoring them, but I was so bound in my own stuff that I couldn't even notice them. Yeah. So to God be the glory for a renewed mind. I am so grateful. And I'm just going to say again that I pray that we will become a community of women that is healed in such a way that it becomes a movement. And for any of you that have not already joined our private Facebook group, I'm going to put that out there again. Yes. It's called Let's Talk Sis. Yes. We are, I'm now about 110 or 107 women strong and growing. So fast. Join us. It's been great, just like inspiration. Women are sharing, we are growing, we are healing, and becoming the best version of ourselves together.
And I'm seeing a lot of the women on there hitting at times when it's most important. Like we get the motivation in the morning, especially Mondays. Yeah. Like getting that motivation in the morning, getting the halfway messages of you almost there. And then there's some women that are up in the middle of the night, like just praying over everybody and just be like, it's going to be all right. Yeah. So you are completely covered, especially in those late night hours of being completely tormented, depending on what season you're in, and having somebody there. Yeah. And like truly feeling like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah, not alone. Safety. It's a safe space to heal. So, and that was our goal to do. So I guess we need to start to wrap up.
Yes. What does sisterhood mean to you?
Our question. What does sisterhood mean to me? Let me think. I have two things, so I'm just going to say both. Because at first, I was thinking that sisterhood means to me peace. It's peace, but I'm going to say peace and safety. Because we were just talking about like our safe space. But peace in a way that I know I can be authentically myself. I don't have to worry about being anxious about how am I being perceived. Just peace, just that peace, that tranquility in those environments where you just mentioned going into an environment this past weekend, and because it's the people that God connected you with, you had peace. Like you didn't have to be anxious about anything. So when I'm with those true divine connections, there's a type of peace that is a beautiful thing. What about you, sis? What does sisterhood mean to you?
Well, in the spirit of the topic, enough, that's what I would have to say. Not just for me, but also meeting my sisters where they are.
That's good.
Which I've always had a hard time of doing because I've always expected me out of other people. Yeah. Like if I'm overbearing, I expect you to be overbearing. Okay. if I am leaned back, I would expect my sisters, like I expect the same energy, but not really not really sitting down to understand each individual person. Yeah. One of my friends who is a therapist, and I love and hate talking to her.
love and
hate relationship.
She gonna give you the truth.
Yes. But some of the questions that, like, we were in a group setting and she was asking some of the other women about how do you want somebody to show up for you? Mm-hmm. What's your love language? Give me your top 3. Mm-hmm. Like, because we talk about this love language in the source of like dating, but your love language crosses all barriers. Yeah. And just like that was something I learned with my kids too. Like, I'm like, oh, if it applies to my girlfriends, then what's my kids' love language? Yeah. And then figuring that out, and then being tripped out that they all had different ones. Like no two are the same. Wow. But just actually me sitting down to be outside of myself, to care enough to say, to have a vulnerable moment and say, where is my sister at? What does she need right now? And what type of person am I dealing with?
Okay. That is so good. That's that's another topic. Yeah. You need to think on that, because just being willing, and it's hard. That's hard. Mm-hmm. That's hard because we are so wired into being who we are that it's hard to have that moment outside of yourself to take the time to first truly understand how a person is wired and then to meet their needs. Yeah. Like, there are very few people that I can say I've been successful with that. And I have one friend and she is a hard shell, and a lot of people don't really understand her. But I understand her in a way that you just mentioned. Yeah. But she is one of the few I can count. I can't even count 5 that I really truly understand in that way. And I can say like that love is truly unconditional, and because I know her heart. But it's not an easy place to get to and understanding.
It's not easy.
We're going to circle back to that one.
They talk about people change, and then you have to, I only know this because of marriage, but people change. Mm-hmm. What is it? Don't
7 years I've heard before. I don't know if that's true or not.
I would say every 3. Okay. Like, I would really say every 3. Like, if I look back over the last 3 years, I can't say that I'm the same person or that I like the same things or I have the same hobbies. Okay. So I would say every 3. So if you're in a friendship long enough, now you're doing the work all over again.
Yeah. And not trying to, if it's a true friendship, now embracing this new season that your sister is in. That's good. That's good. We're coming back. Yeah. I don't know in what form, but we definitely need to come back to that and talk about that more. So, little sis is saying, you are enough. Yes. You are enough. Wherever you find yourself, you are enough. That's good. And we coming back. Yes. All right. So I think we should wrap up there.
Right. And thank you for watching. Yes. Go in and put in that request to join our Facebook group.
Let's talk, sis.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to put it right down here. You're going to see it. You're going to see it.
Yeah, let's talk, sis. And don't forget, when you're watching, to like, to subscribe, and share with a sister friend. Yes. And we want you all to enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will see you soon.
See you.
Bye.